Time to find out, how unique is your brain?
It's truly remarkable.
Can two brains really be identical? My name is Dr. Jack Lewis. I'm a neuroscientist and I'm on a journey to meet people with incredible brains.
Your brain is extraordinary.
With the help of magician Mr. Pete Heat, I want to explore the most vital of our vital organs.
I've got my teenage brain back.
Coming up, we go in search of identical brains.
Ooh.
Are our brains shaped by our genes?
Ooh, hooray. Huh?
Wow, that's really cool.
Or is it all down to the way we grow up?
This is really fresh science. We're really on the edge of discovery here.
Get ready to see double and come face to face with what shapes our brains.
Join me to uncover the secrets of the brain. You are one of a kind. Your brain is shaped by an entirely unique combination of your genes and your experience. It makes you who you are.
But what if you shared your genetic makeup with an identical twin? Would your brains operate in the same way? Would you think the same? Just how similar can two brains be? It's questions like these that have fed neuroscience's obsession with twins.
The study of twins is incredibly useful to help us pick apart the influence of nature and nurture.
Twins represent this amazing, what we call natural experiment. What neuroscience aims to address is how does the brain work, but also how does the brain support all these different behaviors that we have.
There's so much more about the function of the brain that we don't know and that we can learn by using twins and twin studies.
If we can discover just how similar twins' brains are, we might be on our way to explaining a bigger question still. What factors shape all our brains? Nature or nurture? Test the twins, find out how and why they're spookily similar or shockingly different to one another, and we might just unlock the secret of nature and nurture. Discovering what makes you, you. I'm on my way to a rather remarkable place. In Somerset, in the UK, there's a school which is very unusual, and I'm about to find out why. Hi, I'm Jack. Nice to meet you. If you could all kindly please stand up, every single one of you. If you don't have any brothers or sisters, then please sit down. Go. So, all the rest of you have at least one brother or a sister. Now I would like you to please sit down if you don't have a twin. Unbelievably, for a school with only 1,500 pupils, there are an extraordinary number of twins. 17 pairs to be exact. So only the twins remain standing. Okay, and now finally, could you sit down if your twin is not identical? Okay, we've got 5 sets left. Identical twins are pretty rare, less than 2 pairs in every 1,000 babies born. So you won't find many schools like this one. And it gives me the perfect opportunity to find out just how similar identical twins really are.
My name is Daisy.
My name's Lily.
My name is Lobka.
My name is Sari.
My name is Alana.
My name is Kira.
My name is Brian.
My name is Harry.
My name is Charlie. My name is Archie.
These twins are all identical, which we call monozygotic. This type of twin develops when a single fertilized egg splits and becomes 2 fetuses that share every single part of their DNA. They're physically identical and are always the same sex. Dizygotic, or non-identical twins, on the other hand, develop from 2 different eggs, like normal siblings, but sharing a womb.
Identical twins are really fascinating because what we're able to do as scientists is disentangle genetic from environmental influences. So because a pair of identical twins are genetically identical, any differences that we see between them must be due to different experiences, different environments.
Studies have proven that the largest single cause of success or failure in school is what is hardwired into the brain. It's DNA. Statistically, identical twins' exam results will be very close. But does having identical genes mean that these identical twins' brains operate in the same way? Would their answers to simple questions be exactly the same?
So your first decision is simply to pick whichever stool you'd like to sit on. It really doesn't matter which one. Please, whichever of those textbooks is your favourite number, just pick that. Pick an exercise book, whichever is your favourite number. Okay, so if you open it up, please pick a coloured pen, whichever colour appeals to you the most right now. And in the notebook, I'd like you to write the name of a country that you have never visited. Sweet. So if you put the pen back there. Lovely. And then if you actually open up the exercise book and point it at the camera. Lovely. And just say the name of the country you chose.
Egypt.
China.
Pick whichever sweet appeals to you the most, and you're done. Lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're done. Thank you very much. There are 4 sweets in front of you. Please take whichever one you'd like. Good man. Thank you.
That's absolutely remarkable. I came to find out just how concurrent twins are in their decision making, and this test has blown me away. It's not 100%, but the identical twins do seem to often match each other's decisions. Is that because their identical genes have created identical brains? Could this mean nature programs us from birth to think and act in a certain way? Or is it simply because the twins' school and home lives are still so similar that nurture hasn't yet had a chance to shape each of them into a unique individual? Their headmaster, Mr. Mark Everett, knows that for twins, their sense of individuality is hugely important.
They're very, very tight, most of them, when they come in, especially identical twins coming into the school. Absolutely, one thing that infuriates them most of all, especially identical twins, is when their names get mixed up by teachers. That really, really bugs them.
Why do you think that is?
Identity. Okay, it's their own sense of identity. You're stealing part of their identity if you get their name mixed up.
Coming up, I'll be finding out if it's a similar story with older sets of identical twins. Does the influence of nurture, the world around us, show through stronger in the longer run?
The first thing people say is, what's it like being a twin? And the first thing I say is, what's it like not being a twin?
But first, there's one man who thinks you don't have to be twins to think alike. It is, of course, our resident magic man, Mr. Pete Heat. He's about to give some unsuspecting punters a brief taster of what it must be like to have an identical twin.
You two, you're a couple, right? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to test whether you're on the same kind of wavelength. So I'm going to ask you to think of a few different things. Okay, so the first one, I want you to think of a city anywhere in the world. And imagine that while you're there, you decide to do something. I want you to think of an activity of some kind. Yeah, this could be something that you do in your life. It could be a totally random activity that you've never done in your life. And have you got something? Yeah, okay. So you're thinking of a city, you're thinking of an activity. And the last bit of information is I want you to think of an object. So I want you to imagine that you're doing this activity, whatever it is, and you find an object. It could be something that you find lying around on the floor, it could be on a table, whatever the situation is that your activity is in. So we've got a city, we've got an activity, and you've got an object, 3 different bits of information, and you're both happy with, you've got all 3 of those in your heads already? Okay, great. All right, so it's the city to start with then. Okay. 1, 2, 3,
Dublin.
No. Dude, no way. No.
Get out of my head, man.
No. Well, you can go together. 1, 2, 3.
Düsseldorf.
No way.
Okay, so we're in Dublin.
Okay.
Yeah. And you're doing some kind of random activity.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Flying a kite.
No, man. No.
Oh, dear. Right.
Wow. 1, 2, 3.
Playing football. You hate football.
And what about you? Do you play football?
No, not really. I just tried to pick something you wouldn't.
So you're flying a kite and you stop and you notice there's something on the floor, there's an object of some kind, right? 1, 2, 3.
Spoon.
1, 2, 3.
Kettle.
I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you.
That's mental. I didn't see that coming, to be honest. No.
I thought, no, it's not going to get this.
Yeah.
I just think we're all connected. There is ways to tap into that.
Yeah, I have no clue. I just want to know how it happened.
Random, yeah.
I just want to understand it.
It's not magic, but it's very clever.
But it might be.
Now, Pete's trick is staggering because we're all utterly convinced by our own sense of individuality. And coming up with the same answers, just like our sets of identical twins, questions what individuality really means.
To start unravelling this mystery, we need to look inside the brains of twins. And there's one medical expert who can help us go even further than that by looking at twin brains before they're even born.
Clearly, even genetically identical twins can end up developing quite profound differences as a result of being exposed to different environments. The question is, how early do these differences start to manifest themselves in their brains? Well, I've come to Sheffield to meet a researcher who's been looking into the brains of embryos whilst they're still inside their mother's wombs. Professor Griffith. Hi there.
Hi.
How you doing? Lovely to meet you. I'm Jack.
I'm about to witness something amazing. An expectant mum is about to be MRI scanned. I'll be seeing modern medical imaging that few have seen before. And after, the man behind this, Professor Paul Griffiths, has promised to take me through some of the results. Even as early as 14 weeks, scans have picked up extraordinary activity from twins in the womb.
Wow, that's incredible. You can see the brain so clearly.
Yeah, and then of course you've got the brainstem here, you can see the pontine bulge, and actually on a couple of shots you see the little pituitary stalk just hanging down.
You can see the but that's like...
Tiny.
In a fetus, that's going to be this
Tiny.
big, right? I've always wondered, having seen lots of different brains and seeing huge variation, when you've looked at fetuses, identical twins in the womb, do their brains look quite different from an early point?
It's even deeper than that. Even within the same fetus, there is a side-to-side difference.
Ah.
So there is often a 2 to 3 weeks difference between left and right hemisphere, with the left hemisphere usually being the most mature. Within the same fetus, the two hemispheres are not evolving at the same rate.
If differences within even one brain can be so pronounced, just imagine how many potential differences there could be between twins. To help illustrate this, Professor Griffiths has lent me some incredible models.
This is the professor's box of brain tricks. So although this might look like an artist's impression of a fetus, it's actually a 3D printed model taken from MRI images of the fetus in the womb. So too for these brains. So this is an extremely young fetal brain. This one's slightly older, older still. And as you can see, as you go from a young brain to older and older, the degree of folds in the outer surface of the cortex increases, 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 and continues to increase right up until you get to here, which is much more like an adult brain would look like. So whereas these are the healthily developing brains on this side, in this box, we've got various examples of how brain development can go awry inside the womb. Now, if you take the example of twins and you compare a healthy brain to an abnormally developing brain, they're genetically identical, yet still, from the point of being still inside the mother's womb, you can end up with differences in brain structure, where one twin is perfectly healthy and the other has difficulties. Now, I think that's remarkable because we're all clear now that identical twins can have different fates when they leave the womb, but it seems that right from being inside their mother's womb, there can be differences in the environment that cause their brains to form differently and then have an impact on what they can and can't do when they're finally born.
The differences between these brains is extreme, but they go to show that the outside world starts to influence and change us from the moment we're conceived, brains included.
That is truly remarkable. So Professor Griffiths' scans prove that we can't purely be a product of our genes. No twin's brain is a carbon copy of the other, despite their identical DNA.
So this might explain why, although our identical twins showed strikingly similar choices, they weren't perfectly identical.
Nature on its own cannot be the answer, because even in the womb, we feel the effects of nurture.
So now, I want to meet some older identical twins to see what happens when nurture has had even longer to make its mark on twin brains. Meet Zach and Alfie, Beth and Ruby, Sophie and Polly, and finally, Guilherme and Greg.
Oh, the first thing people say is, what's it like being a twin? And the first thing I say is, what's it like not being a twin? That was Harmony.
I've already forgotten who's who, but presumably you're used to that.
It's often just easier to accept someone calling me Zach than to say, no, I'm Alfie, then go through all that, yeah.
Have you ever taken advantage of that?
Yeah, at school all the time, yeah.
She did a couple of my GCSEs. My first boyfriend asked her out thinking it was me, and she was like, yeah, and arranged the date, and then she's like, by the way, you've got a date.
So sometimes the spooky things ever happen.
We've arrived somewhere where we didn't get ready together and we're wearing the same outfit.
Out of a wardrobe of hundreds of items of clothing.
Of big options, yeah.
We used to work in this restaurant together, and someone would make a mistake, and then he would come and say, did you do that on table 3? Like, no, it was probably my brother. And then they would come to me and say, what happened? No, it was probably my brother.
Wow, that's wicked.
My mum and dad were changing us and we both ended up in white baby grows. And then Mum was just like, I don't know which one's which. So I might have started off life as Sophie, in which case I'm the older twin. So when people say who's oldest, we're actually, like, the honest answer is we don't know. Sophie was the firstborn twin, but I might have started life as Polly.
So you could have had a switched identity without anyone really realising the error?
Yeah.
We sometimes came up dressed the same colors at least.
So we have to call each other and say, look, I'm gonna go with like my red t-shirt.
Like, we have gone into shops before and just picked up the same thing, bought it, even though we weren't together. Yeah.
That's uncanny.
So the reason I've assembled these twins together is to see if I can dig a little deeper into how the identical twin brains change over time. Some of our twins live together, others apart. At the furthest end of the scale are Guilherme and Greg Ribeiro, who are in their early 30s. These Brazilian twins live completely separately, one in London and one in Derby. Guilherme is a freelance writer-blogger and Greg works in a restaurant. Does this mean that their brains are more likely to be developing in different ways? Do they see the world differently now?
Do you think the same things?
I wouldn't say I know what he's thinking, but I can guess with like some accuracy, especially depending on the subject.
Yeah, perceptions of environment.
So for example, we're talking about something, a specific subject, and you mention something, and my brother, I know exactly what he's going to talk about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Meanwhile, at the other end of the spectrum, Zach and Alfie Jeevons Fellows, 18 from Worcester, live their lives very much together at home with mum and dad. They've always been best friends, they think alike, they went to the same schools and even play on the same rugby team. They also have a band. They studied the same A-levels and got almost exactly the same results. And now they're pursuing a career together in music. So, does this mean that they're likely to be more concurrent in their answers than the others? And if so, does that speak volumes for the power of nurture?
We know how each other's going to react to a situation.
Do those similar experiences make you feel in some way that you have identical brains?
I don't think so. I don't think we are. Well, I don't know, really, because we're identical twins, so why wouldn't our brains be identical, really? We I don't know, we sometimes have different opinions. And
sometimes.
So, I've put together some very simple tests.
This is called a thought concordance test. We have good data to suggest that between identical twins, there's quite a strong link, but there's only one way to test it, and that is, I'm going to ask you to do a few simple things. Now I want you to simply pick a number between 1 and 10 and write it down on that piece of paper. Draw a simple picture. Some kind of very straightforward, easy to draw object would be ideal. Think of, off the top of your head, an animal.
Dog.
Dog. Horse.
Kangaroo. Turtle.
Name a country.
Italy.
England.
China. Egypt.
Thailand. Thailand.
Name a colour.
Blue.
Lilac.
Purple. Red.
Green. Red.
The test seems conclusive to me. Greg and Guilherme are by far the least concurrent. Do their separate lives explain their separate answers?
Egypt. China.
Meanwhile, Zach and Alfie scored the highest.
Wow, so that's remarkable. 3 out of 4 is a fair degree of correspondence between this pair of twins.
Could it really be as straightforward as the twins who live the closest together are most similar and vice versa? Well, the boys who seem furthest apart are being sent to meet a pioneer who thinks she can prove they're more similar than they seem.
What I'm going to bring up next is your data.
Ooh, hooray.
That's really cool.
And the boys who seem similar in every way are going to find out if their brain activity actually reflects that.
What do you think? Are your brains similar?
Yeah, I should think so. Everything else is.
Meanwhile, how good do you think you are at spotting twins? Have a look at this grid of headshots. All you have to do is count up the pairs of genuine twins. How many have you got? Well, the correct answer is 5 pairs. These are non-identical twins. These ones are identical. But did you think these were twins? Actually, they're a great example of doppelgangers. They're actually completely unrelated. So, what have we found out so far? Well, don't be fooled by appearances. While some identical twins can demonstrate a remarkable level of concurrence, their identical genes do not lead to identical brains. And it's far from straightforward trying to unpick the genetic and environmental influences behind the decisions we make. I want to find out what's actually going on inside the heads of our twins. I've sent Zach and Alfie to meet Professor Julia Kovas of Goldsmiths University in London. Julia is a leading researcher into the development of twin brains. And she's particularly fascinated by what this tells us about the influence of nature versus nurture.
Monozygotic twins, that is, wonderful demonstration that even coming from the same cell, growing up in the same family, often going to the same school, being exposed to so much identical environments, these people grow up as individuals, as unique.
Yulia wants to see what happens when Zach and Alfie's decision-making processes are monitored. As she's about to find out, these boys appear to think so identically, they even have to decide who's going to say what.
I'll say we'd come to Gold. I'll say first, we'd come to Goldsmith. And I'll say all that, and then you say, all right. I'll improvise. I'll go first.
Good luck to Yulia. So first she needs to get them hooked up.
Hello. Hi, I'm Alfie, nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Tom. How are you doing?
Alfie,
Okay.
nice to
Hello,
meet you.
hi.
Hello,
Hi,
Alfie.
Tom. Okay, hello.
So we're going to put the cap on your head. First of all, we just need to clean around all the bits that we're going to put these other electrodes on, okay?
Okay.
Have you ever done that before?
It's my first time.
Oh,
Good. Do you have any, maybe, brain scans of any kind? No, never?
The team uses EEG, small sensors attached to the scalp to pick up the electrical signals produced every time brain cells send messages from one to another.
This particular technique allows us to read off the electrical activity that is happening in your brain from the scalp.
Time for the boys to put their thinking caps on. And it seems some similarities are obvious right from the start.
It's exactly the same, so yes.
Okay, so once they're wired up, then Yulia and the team have devised a test for the boys to each take individually, and then they'll be able to compare their brain activity side by side.
It's a good look.
So don't worry, we'll just do a little bit of wiggling around, but it's just a tube, nothing major is going on. So if you want to stand up with the minimum head movement possible. Yep. Yeah, don't worry, you're doing well.
Alfie's up first. Now this test measures approximate number sense.
So in this task, a lot of yellow and blue dots will appear on the screen.
This is the ability to make a very rough and ready estimate of how many objects are in a scene.
You have to just simply say if you think there are more blue dots or more yellow dots.
Okay.
Try and do it as quickly as possible. Now, N if it was yellow, M if it was blue.
But how will the twins compare?
Is that it?
It's very quick. Correct. Well done.
Meanwhile, whilst Alfie and Zach complete their challenge, Pete is keen to set a test of his own. He thinks that if you want to see brains behaving identically, you just need some crayons and a lovely picture.
So I want you to imagine you're younger, your children, and you're colouring in. So we've got two clipboards, we've got two little guys, hats, jumpers, trousers, and boots on. Okay, I'm going to give one each to you two. Okay, and I'm going to get you to hold the clipboards up slightly, up against your chest so I can't see what you're doing. And can you turn as well so that you're sort of back to back, just so I cannot see your drawing and he cannot see your drawing. But yeah, does that make sense? And I want both of you to decide on what your first colour is going to be. I'm going to look away so I can't see. But just get a colour in your head. Let me know when you've both done that. You've both got a colour in your head? Yeah. Perfect. And just choose an item of clothing and get colouring. The important thing is that it's a free choice of colour, so whichever colour you want to go with, go for that. Don't let me influence you in any way. Whichever colour you pink of first, just pink of that one. Hilarious gag. Okay, are we all done? And I'm going to turn around and face you now. Great, so be honest with me. With each of those colours, so every time you picked a colour from the box, did it feel like it was a free choice, that you could have chosen any of the colours? Yeah. Yeah, and you couldn't see what each other were drawing, or there's no point of you seeing her paper, at no point of you seeing his paper? 3, 2, 1. Oh.
Well, this changes everything.
3, 2, 1.
It was completely random and free. I had crazy. Unbelievable. That's just phenomenal.
Genuinely.
Don't really know what to say.
1, 2, 3. Wow.
That is so weird.
Green hat, yellow top, purple trousers, orange shoes,
Thanks, Pete. Okay, so Pete has the power to magically make people arrive at the same decision. But now, it's time to find out how our two twins, Zach and Alfie, have got on with their brain scan. Are they proof that you don't need magic to show a remarkable concurrence in thinking? The results are rather amazing. Yulia is able to reveal that Zach and Alfie showed remarkable similarities in a way that could only be explained by their identical genes leading to near identical brains.
What do you think? Are your brains similar?
Yeah, I should think so. Everything else is.
Yeah, good. And of course the brain is responsible for everything. So you have finished doing the task, and the task moved really fast.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time you told us that it felt like you were guessing, you really didn't know.
Yeah, definitely.
But actually what happens is that you're actually very accurate, and you're similarly accurate. And today we wouldn't be able to tell you that you are identical, for example, in this performance, because EEG data is very, very complex. But if your brain activity is very similar, which is our hypothesis, it suggests that your brain is structured in similar ways and networked in similar ways, much more similar than some random people.
And Yulia also believes that an identical nature also has a tendency to lead twins into similar life choices, so that their nurture is similar too.
So what does it mean in practical terms? For example, if you meet somebody, do you have similar evaluation of this person?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you're similar not just because of genes, but also because your genes put you in similar situations, and they kind of, other people react to you in similar ways, and then you become more and more similar because of that, this kind of continuous loop. Genes are not the only contributing factors. There are a lot of environments, and the environments are continuously happening. So kind of that's why your similarities are reinforced, but also differences emerge. So a lot of the time people think about the brain as something that has been formed, let's say in childhood, and then it drives behavior. But that's not true, because brain is continuously developing, continuously adapting, continuously rewiring. For example, the fact that you can learn new things, like today you've learned something new, and in order to support this knowledge, your brain rewired. So some kind of networking emerged that wasn't there before.
Yeah.
Well, it's great. It's been great having you, actually. So it's,
it's been awesome. Thanks for sharing us.
So, it's been a fascinating experience for the boys to find out exactly how similar their brains are. Does it change the way they think about each other?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't change the way our relationship is, or anything like that. No, we're still the same.
That's amazing. So, according to Yulia, whilst nature has given Zach and Alfie genetically identical brains, it also plays a role in ensuring that their nurture, the influences that they're subjected to throughout their lives, is similar too, impacting on how they make decisions in multiple ways.
But what about our other identical twins, Greg and Gilhelm, who didn't appear to be so concurrent? I've sent them to a twin specialist who's hoping to use a different type of brain scan to measure whether or not their visual systems work in the same way. Do they actually see the world identically? Meanwhile, Pete Heat has been on a mischievous mission to prove that we all have the power to find our inner twin. And he's not giving up. With just a little help, he thinks we can all see things exactly the same way.
Do you guys ever play cards? Occasionally, yeah. Well, you may or may not know then, in each pack of cards, every card has got what they call like a twin card. So, for example, if you take a random one for the 4 of clubs, the twin for that would be the 4 of spades. Okay, so it's a 4 and it's black, but it's just the suit that's different. So I'm going to get you to choose a card for me if you would. So I'm going to flick through the pack like that, and can you just say stop wherever you want, okay? Right there? You sure? I can go further if you want. Can you put your hand out for me? And can you just take that? Okay, you can have a little peek at it if you want. I'll look away.
Shall I show you?
Yeah, why not show the camera as well? Yeah. Can I turn back? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so basically whatever happens with your card, the same thing is going to happen with its twin, hopefully. If you just turn yours face up on your hand, perfect. Okay, so it's 7 of hearts, so the twin will be the 7 of diamonds, yeah? Okay, so because you've turned yours face up, this time if we spread through, it should be, yes, there we go. So there's one face-up card, and that's the twin card, so it's 7 of diamonds. Okay, so that's a good start, but let's take that a bit further. If you could sort of damage that for me, so basically if you rip it for me, so maybe if we'll rip out like a big corner like that, so about a quarter of the card, yeah? Okay. And like I say, whatever happens to your card, the same thing happens to the twin card. So this time if we spread through, see, there's now a big corner missing from that one. If I spread through again, you see, this time, there is still only one card face up, but this time, there's a big corner missing from it, like that. Okay, you can see that, yeah. Let's take that a step further still, though. If I give the cards to you for a second, and can you hold them tight so I can't take anything out of your hands without you realising? Can I ask you to fold that up into a little, yeah, like that, and then fold that over as well? So we've got like a little package, perfect. Do your trousers, do they have pockets? Yeah. Okay, if you stick that in your back pocket, perfect. That's great. So you fold it up, you put it in your pocket. Like I say, whatever happens with your card, that's what happens with the twin as well. So this time if we spread through there, remember it was face up, but this time if we spread through, see, there is actually no face-up card in the pack. So the face-up card has disappeared while you were holding it. Now, I asked you to put that coin in your pocket. You went for your left back pocket. Could you reach into your left back pocket?
Oh, what is that? What is that?
So that's a bit weird, isn't it?
That's mental, yeah.
If you reach into your left back pocket, I think. Reach into your pocket.
No way!
No.
It blew my mind a little bit. He didn't come near me, didn't touch me, so I don't know how it ended up there. So, like, yeah, I couldn't give you an explanation for why that happened.
It's quite amazing, actually.
So my magical mate Pete might just have been using his mysterious powers there, but just for a moment, his victims had the chance to experience what it's like to see double.
It's been quite a journey to try and unravel the mystery of why identical twins think so alike. Alfie and Zach may have revealed startlingly similar brain activity, but what about our two identical twins who are the least concurrent, Guilherme and Greg? They live apart and have separate passions and interests. So surely nurture will have had more opportunity to change the identical brains that nature gave them. There's one woman who could help them find an answer. Meet Dr. Noni Finlayson, a woman who's made it her life's work to understand how twins see the world.
This is really fresh science. We're really on the edge of discovery here by comparing identical twins who are genetically the same to non-identical twins. We can rule out things like environment and their upbringing and just look at that genetic component.
While Professor Kovas used the cognitive process behind number sense to monitor Zach and Alfie's similar brain patterns, here, Noni has been using visual perception. She wants to find out if the boys see the world in the same way.
Do you know what each other's thinking most of the time?
I wouldn't say I know what he's thinking, but I can guess with like some accuracy, especially depending on the subject.
Yeah, perceptions of environment.
So for example, we're talking about something, a specific subject, and you mention something, and my brother, I know exactly what he's going to talk about. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Do you feel like you have the same brain?
I'd say so. Not completely.
I've come to University College London to meet Noni to find out more about this study.
Hey, lovely to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
What are you hoping to find with this study?
So the thing that we're really overall looking at for this is looking at the heritability or the genetic factors behind visual perception or how we perceive the world. Because we know that individually everybody perceives it slightly differently, and we want to see how much of that is to do with who our parents are.
So hence the twins, because if they're identical twins, they're genetically identical, So any differences are going to be purely due to nature, unlike, say, differences between you and me would be both genetic and our different experiences of life.
Exactly. So for this study, we have identical twins, and then we're actually comparing them to non-identical twins.
Ah, and so which part of the brain are we talking about here? Is it the very first area that the information hits?
It's early, but it's not the very first area. So it's in the visual cortex, the occipital cortex, which is at the back of the brain. And the visual information goes through a few intermediate areas first, but it's really the first time it hits the visual cortex.
After light enters the eye and strikes the retina, it's converted into electrical signals and passed along the optic nerve. It first hits the thalamus deep in the brain before being passed on to the occipital lobe, where the brain actually creates what we see.
We know from previous studies that overall identical twins' brains, the structure and the connections between them are more similar than non-identical twins' brains.
Oh, right.
And what we want to look at is whether functionally defined regions are similar.
Hey!
Coming in.
Hello. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Greg.
I'm Noni.
Into your padded cell.
Yes, so this is where we do behavioural testing. So what you'll be doing in here is a relatively simple and straightforward computer task. And so in this, what we get you to do is there's a dot in the centre of the screen, and it's really important to keep your eyes fixated on that dot. And these 4 circles on the outside, they'll change from trial to trial in size.
By forcing the twins to focus on the centre of the image, whilst guessing what's happening at the edge of their vision, she's able to monitor which parts of their occipital cortex are used.
All you have to do is tell me which of them you think is the same size as the circle in the middle.
All right, okay.
Who wants to go first?
And which one's which?
Which one was born first?
First up, it's Greg. Testing his peripheral vision is a fascinating way to measure his brain's similarity with his brother. Whilst he gets on with it, do you want to put your peripheral vision to the test? Okay, let's start by getting you aware of your peripheral vision. Take 2 fingers, point them at the horizon, and then look at the spot above them. Keeping your eyes pointed in that direction, move your fingers gradually out to the sides in opposite directions, and before long, your fingers should disappear. But once they get far enough to each side to disappear from view, then try wiggling your fingers, and they come back into view, right? That's because our brains have evolved a mechanism to detect movement on the edge of our vision, just in case it's a lion, tiger, bear, or whatever. Now you have an idea of how your peripheral vision works, try looking at these 2 images. Both of these illusions play around by looking at the way our brain processes vision in the periphery. Well, that test was looking at something very similar to the test our twins just took. Do you want to try the test they took for yourself? If you're watching with someone, why don't you see how your answers match up? Concentrate on the dot in the centre of the screen. Now try to decide which of the dots around the edge is the same size. In case you're wondering, it was the bottom left. What about this time? Remember, concentrate on the central dot. Keep your eyes pointed there. This time, it was the top right. And finally, bottom left again. How did you do? And how did you match with your partner? Interestingly, because the brain tends to put less importance on the periphery of your vision, people tend to misjudge the size of the objects, choosing a dot that's actually larger than the one in the centre. Noni has been pulling together the results. It's the first time that the twins will ever have seen any evidence to suggest their brains operate more identically than their lives would suggest. First up, she shares the data of non-identical twins.
So what I'm going to show you first of all is what a normal pair of non-identical twins, what their data would look like. Okay, so what we have up here is on the x-axis, this bottom axis here, is we're looking at how things look in the centre of your vision and then kind of moving out. And then on the y-axis, basically what we're looking at is the amount of activation. So you can see the 2 different twins here. One is that green line, so this is the best fit of the data, and then the other twin is that blue line. And what you can see here is that they're quite different. One is higher than the other, but they're also different at different angles. And what this is basically telling us is that the twins are seeing things differently. And this is for non-identical twins. What I'm going to bring up next is your data.
Ooh, hooray.
So what you should be able to see straight away is that they're much more similar. So the angles and the overall activation is really quite similar between the two of you, suggesting that you are actually physically perceiving sizes as more similar.
But does it surprise you how much your data is different from non-identicals?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say surprised. Before we were talking about how we have like the same perspective.
I find this truly amazing. When I started to explore the whole notion of nature and nurture through identical twins, I expected their brains, just as they did in the womb, to keep changing as a result of their environment. I really thought that Greg and Guilherme were going to be my ticket to prove that nurture ultimately wins through. But Noni's groundbreaking research reveals that their brains still process visual information in a near identical way.
So what does this twin research tell us in the big picture?
Basically, what it's telling us is that we are inheriting the way we perceive the world from our parents, at least a small part of it.
That's really cool. So it's not just them, it's the same for any set of identical twins, probably.
Probably.
As evidenced by this data.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Lovely to meet you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was nice to meet you. Thanks for coming.
Keep up the good work. And boys.
It was, yes.
You guys are
It was
amazing.
awesome.
That is incredible. Noni's research proves that not only are the twins' brains the same, they actually see the world in the same way. The twins' DNA, nature, determines how they see the world, no matter how much time they spend apart.
I'm actually really surprised by our results because I didn't necessarily expect the function of twins' brains to be similar. We know that they look the same and a lot of their brain structure is the same, but they often act so differently that I didn't necessarily expect their function to be the same.
So we started with a big question. Why are identical twins so alike? And that naturally led to an even bigger question. Is it nature or nurture that shapes who we are? And the answer? Well, it's a bit of both. Nature sets you up, and then your brain is influenced by every single nurturing second from the moment of conception onwards.
Scans in the womb prove that the world around us starts influencing our brain structure and functions right from the get-go. But cutting-edge testing shows that in many key ways, our genetic inheritance remains at the very core of how we see and interact with the world around us.
Nature, that's your genes, remains a constant influence on the structure and functionality of the brain throughout your life. Now, we all do have completely unique brains that are one of a kind, but it just goes to show, some of them are just a little bit less unique than others.